welcome back to the Garden of Reading, and welcome to another reading wrap-up, more specifically my winter reading wrap-up. Now, those of you who are new to my channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. I would love to have you here on my channel, but you're probably wondering, why am I doing a winter reading wrap-up in March? And this is why. This is why. For those of you who are new here and have not been around for a while, I have decided to do seasonal book reading wrap-ups and TBRs because I'm a busy mama to 3. I homeschool them, I also work from home, and then in my spare time as a hobby, I have multiple YouTube channels to tend to. So that is the reason why I have decided to do seasonal reading wrap-ups and like TBRs. So for my winter reads, I decided to span it over the course of December, January, and February. So I need to get through all of the lovely books that I was able to get through over the winter season, so then I can hop on here and do my spring reads, because you guys, I'm excited for the books that I picked out for this spring and I cannot wait. So yes, we need to do that because my spring reads will be spanning over the course of March, April, and May. May is my birthday month. I am a Taurus and I'm so excited to be turning 30. Yeah, I'm gonna be turning 30, which is just crazy because I definitely don't feel like it, and I definitely don't feel like I look like it either. But it is what it is. I'm going to be turning 30, so do stay tuned because I will be going on a birthday book shopping hunt. Yes, I will. That's what I told my husband I wanted for my birthday. I just wanted to go book shopping and go to the Goodwill and see if they have any VHS tapes to buy.
That's all I want to do. That's all you gotta do to make a girl happy. So,
anyways, stay tuned for that. But yeah, you guys, I've got my coffee in this beautiful Bratz mug that my husband picked up for me for Christmas. Love it so much. I'm still on my, that was super hot by the way. I'm still on my Cinnabon K-Cups. I have the International Delight French Vanilla Creamer with heavy whipping cream and some whipped cream on top. So pretty basic, just like a vanilla latte. So good. I didn't have my morning coffee this morning, so this is like everything to me right now. Anywho, you guys, I got through quite a few books over the winter, and I am very, very proud of myself. Like, super proud of myself. Look at all of these books I was able to get through, you guys. Loads of books. So we're gonna have a fun time diving into all of these books. Now, I've mentioned this before. Like I said, I'm a very busy mom. I homeschool, I work from home, and so my time is very limited when it comes to being able to read as much as I would like. I've always been an avid reader ever since I was a little girl, and reading has always been a part of my life. But I will say, since having kids, I don't get to read as much as I would like to, and that is okay. So in my spare time, right now, I'm able to read about 3 books a month, which I know isn't very much. I know a lot of other people can read like 10 books in a freaking week, which props to you, but I can't do that being a full-time mama bear. But I have noticed over the last couple months, I am able to maybe read anywhere from 3 to 5 books a month, which is amazing. Just really depends on how thick the book is, how long the book is. It's going to depend on how many books I can read that month. And so I'm just so happy that I was able to get through so many books. Initially, I picked out 10 books for my winter reads. Every seasonal read, I pick out 10 books because like I said, I normally can get through around 3 books each month, but like I said, I've noticed sometimes I'm able to squeeze in an extra 1 to 2 books per month. So I like to like tack on another book because we have what, 3, 6, 9, and I usually tack on another book. And so this time, let me count them. I think I got through 12 books. So what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, I got through 12 books out of 13, but I started off with 10. I only picked out 10 books for my winter reads, but I ended up tacking on 3 other books, you guys. And the fact that I was able to get through 12 out of the 13 is awesome. So awesome. I honestly could have gotten through the very last book, but I decided to not pick it up. At this time, I just wasn't feeling it anymore. So anyways, you guys, yes, we need to dive into all of these lovely books that I was able to pick up. So I'm going to start off with all the books that I initially did pick up for my winter reads, and then at the end, I will go over all of the books that I ended up adding on to my winter reads. Also, you guys, In this reading wrap-up, there's going to be some fun, exciting things, at least for me. I feel like I read my very first audiobook, which, if you know me, you know I don't do audiobooks, and I read my very first audiobook, so stay tuned to hear my thoughts on that. I also read my very first ebook as well, and if you know me, you know I don't do ebooks. I'm not a digital book girly at all. I love my physical books, so stay tuned for my thoughts on that. And I also did a book club pick with my sister. We picked out a book and we read it together, which was so much fun. I think this is like our third time doing this, and it's so much fun. Maybe I should record our session next time. If you think you'd be into a video like that, let me know down below, and or even just like this video, and I would be happy to do a like recording of me and my sister doing our little book club together. I feel like that would be so much freaking fun. Like, we definitely laugh and we are chaotic, but it's so fun. And then I also got a book sent to me by an author, which I am so excited about. So stay tuned for all of those lovely things, you guys. Okay, so first up, I'm going to go through my Christmas books. Like I said, this is my winter reading wrap up, and those months ran over the course of December, January, and February, so I had to pick up some Christmassy books to read over my winter reads, and I did pick up 3, but I was only able to get through 2 of them, and you guys, these were some really good books. Like, really good freaking books. I was blown away. And so the first book that I picked up for my winter reads, like the actual first book that I started reading in December, is How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn. And you guys, not only is this cover giving and it's freaking everything, it is beautiful, it's stunning, it's so pretty. The book, chef's kiss. Freaking amazing. It was so good. And I want to say that I heard that this book is in the works to be a Hallmark movie, which I'm so excited for, because this book kind of talks about Hallmark movies in it. I think it's called something else though, but I don't remember what they called it in the book. Like, it was so long ago. I feel like it's just like so relevant to everything else that was happening in the book. But so what this story is about is a beautiful Christmas town. It's a very small town where everybody knows everyone knows everyone's business, and it's Christmas there all year round. Like, they take Christmas very, very serious there, and it's just so cute and cozy. Definitely Hallmark vibes for sure, like Christmas Hallmark movies. And so Story comes to visit. She's been coming to visit her Aunt Cindy for years and years and years, and so she made a best friend, which is Cole, and lives right next door to her Aunt Cindy, and so they grew up together. They were childhood best friends, and then Story kind of just stops coming every Christmas, and Cole is heartbroken. His parents have passed away, and he just isn't the same, and he's mad at Story. He's mad at Story for not coming back, for not being there for him. And so Story ends up having to come back years later because her Aunt Cindy, I think she like broke her hip or something like that. Coffee break mid-sentence because I don't want this to go cold. Story ends up coming back after all of these years to help out her Aunt Cindy, which was really against her will. She didn't really want to do it, but her parents made her do it. And Story, like, I don't remember, you guys. I read so many books, but she either like writes or directs or something like that movies for Hallmark. But Hallmark is called something else in the book, but I don't remember what it is, and I really don't feel like sifting through the book to find out. But anywho, she comes back, she runs into Cole, and it's kind of like it's like enemies to lovers, because they absolutely just like hate each other when they see each other again. Story actually like really wants to talk to Cole and hang out with him, crack some jokes, but he's mad at her and she has no idea why. So they end up just being like enemies, and she's just like, what happened? Like, we used to have like this really special bond. I'm back after all these years. I was actually happy to run into you, but you're just mad for whatever reason. And so Story actually didn't end up knowing like that his parents had like passed away, and she left just at a really bad time in his life. And so needless to say, Story is back. Her aunt is happy, and her sister's also trudging along with her as well. And Kringletown, which I think that's where they live. I think it's Kringletown. Yeah, I think they live in Kringletown. And so in Kringletown, they do all of these fun, festive games to be like crowned the Kringletownie or something like that. And so Aunt Cindy basically makes Story enter into this competition when she doesn't even want to, and Cole ends up finding out that she has entered the competition, and he's pissed. He's like, no, you are not about to come back to our beloved Kringle Town after all this time and jump into these games and then be crowned the Kringle Townie. Like, no, like that, I'm taking that title. I'm taking the title from you. So he decides to join in on the action as well, which I forgot to tell you, he has lost all of his Christmas spirit since his parents died. He doesn't do Christmas. He kind of just like keeps to himself. He's like the Grinch. He's literally portraying the Grinch. Like, he had a bad time in his life that he's still holding a grudge over, still grieving over, and kind of takes it out on everybody around him and kind of just isolates himself, does his own thing. And really the only people that he talks to is his best friend, Max. I mean, come on. His best friend is named after Max, the dog from How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And so Max is like the only one who really knows the true Cole and his deepest, darkest secrets, his feelings, and things like that. And so Max teams up with Cole to help him win the competition. And so they're duking it out in this Kringle Townie competition, going through so many different fun, festive games and stuff like that to be crowned the Kringle Townie. And like I said, this is like an enemies to lovers, but also like childhood best friends to lovers. Like, you know, it kind of gives both. And so, I don't know, they just like kind of end up falling for each other. And then it's also a fake dating trope because they start fake dating to get everyone to just like be enamored by both of them and to just kind of help them raise their points and being able to rise up in the ranks of playing these Christmas games. And it's just really fun. It was a really great time, and I really felt like I was watching a Hallmark movie played out before my eyes. Like, it gave such great visible pictures in my mind, and I love that so much. Like, I fell in love with these characters so much that I wish there was more. I wish there was more for Cole and Story because it was so good, and it's also spicy. So just so you know, it is spicy. I did say How the Grinch Stole Christmas with an adult twist, and it definitely has that. If I had to rate it, I would give it maybe about 3 chili peppers. There are some spicy scenes. Now, those spicy scenes aren't going to pop up until like a little halfway through the book, because halfway through the book you're getting the backstory. There's still like enemies at this point. They hate each other, and then they start fake dating, and then that's when they really start falling for each other. But there are some spicy scenes, so just a content warning. I did not expect that when I was reading the book, so when that came I was like, whoa. You know, I was definitely surprised. Because I've never read anything by Megan Quinn, but this was so freaking good that I want to pick up other books by this author. I do have a few on my shelf that I have not read, so I definitely want to read those soon. But this book, you guys, just gave. It gave. And I gave this book 6 stars, you guys. It was so stinking good. Like, so good. Like, this was the best Christmas book I have ever freaking read, and I'm really happy that I picked it up. Like, it's good. If you love How the Grinch Stole Christmas, you're gonna love this book. How the Grinch Stole Christmas is my all-time favorite Christmas movie, so there's a lot of references to the actual movie itself. So if you've watched the movie, you're going to get a lot of the references that are in this book, and I just love it so freaking much. You even have Martha and May, who are sisters, who live in the same block as Story and her aunt and Cole, and it's just so much fun. You have all of these different characters that were in the movie that inspired this book, and I love it so freaking much. Like, read this book, you guys. Read this book for your upcoming Christmas reads this year for 2025. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. It is so stinking good. And I feel like I could sit here and talk about this book forever, but at some point we need to move on because there's a lot of other books to get through. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly go over this. I wish that I could sit here and give you guys more on this story, but I don't want to spoil it for those of you who haven't read it or who do want to read it. So maybe in the future I will do like reading vlogs where I read books and I maybe spoil the book for you guys. If that's something you'd be interested in, let me know. I do plan on doing a reading vlog with you guys soon, so that's gonna be fun. But anyways, you guys, 6 stars. It was such a good read, and I would definitely read it again. Coffee break, because this coffee is gonna get cold, you guys. I love making lattes because steaming the milk and creamer together with the hot coffee just makes it extra hot so it lasts a lot longer. So there's a tip: if your coffee gets cold too fast, turn it into a latte. It will stay hot for a lot longer. Okay, the next book that I picked up for my Christmas reads is The Christmas Murder Game by Alexandra Benedict. And you guys, I picked up this book off of Amazon, and when I seen this, I had to pick it up. Like, the fact that this was a thriller book, but also Christmassy, I was like, yes, I need it. I need it because I've never read a Christmas, like, murder mystery book. And if you know, you know, I'm in my thriller era right now. I absolutely love thriller books so much right now that I was like, yes, I need. So this book follows Lily Armitage, who is kind of estranged from her family. She hasn't talked to her family in years. She's off doing her own thing, like trying to start up her own fashion line. And she used to grow up in this really huge house where everybody just kind of lived there and hung out there. She had loads of family that she grew up around, and her mom died, so her aunt ended up taking her away from the house, like basically adopting her and moving out of this house with her other 2 kids. She has a son and a daughter, and then she also took on her niece as well. And then her aunt ends up dying. And her aunt likes to play these games around Christmas time. She plays these games where she has all of these like riddles and things that the kids would read to go and find their Christmas presents. And it's something that she's always done every Christmas. Well, when she dies, she ends up sending out this letter to all of the family, inviting them to come back to the Armitage household to play a Christmas game, to win the keys to the house, which would be their inheritance. And so everyone, of course, wants to play. Lily's kind of on the fence about it because she doesn't care about the house. She doesn't want the house. She doesn't even want to see her family. But she wants to come back because her aunt kind of made it a clue in the letter that she sent Lily that her mom's death was not an accident, that somebody actually murdered her. So Lily wants to find out who murdered her mom and what happened that night. So she decides to go back to Armitage House. Needless to say, they are stuck here at this house for, I forgot how long it is, like so many days, I think like a week. And each day there is a riddle to solve to find different clues in the house. And there's so many keys in the house that they have to find. And you have to find so many keys, I believe, to win the keys to the house. And needless to say, her family are pricks. They are snooty, they are uppity, and there's only like a handful of people who are really nice to Lily. And so people end up dropping like flies during the Christmas games, and throughout the book you're trying to figure out who did it, who is killing their family members off. So this was a really fun book. I was definitely stumped throughout this book as to who the heck was killing everyone, because there's so many characters in this book that it's really hard to pinpoint. And then at one point in the book, I kind of thought it was this character, and then I was like, no, and I kind of went on to a different character who I thought did it. And so at the end of the book, it didn't end up being who I thought it was to begin with, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I should have stuck with my gut feeling on who it was. But this was such a fun time, and it was so good that I instantly started looking up more books by this author. But this author really doesn't have that many books that I could find on Amazon anyway. She does have a couple other Christmassy murder mystery books, so I will definitely want to pick those up. But this book was a fun time. This book was a fun time, you guys. I highly recommend it for your upcoming 2025 Christmas reads. It was so good, and the fact that it was also a thriller book for Christmas, loved it. Loved it. I gave this book 5 stars. It was so good, and yeah, it was really, really good. I feel like I have so much to say about this book, but I feel like anything I say is going to spoil the book, so all I can say is pick it up and try it out. I promise you, you're not going to be disappointed. Like, Lily is pretty much like this loner throughout the entire book, and you have the lone few who are trying to help her to win the keys to the house because they feel like she deserves it because it was her mother's after all, and her mom died. And then you just have characters in this book who are just really mean to her and bully her, and I don't know, it was just a really good time. And if you love thrillers, you're gonna love this book, and that's all I have to say about this book. Okay, moving on to the next section of books that I picked up, and those are my manga reads. And you guys, I love this series so freaking much. So I picked up the first 2 books in the series, and this is Aharu Ride by Ayo Sakisaka. And you guys, the artwork for these mangas are just freaking beautiful, like so freaking pretty. I love the character art so freaking much. So I picked up the first 2 in the series, and these are a shoujo, like high school romance mangas, which is my favorite type of mangas to read about. And I'm so excited. They're so freaking good. Let me just show you some artwork here inside. They're so pretty. So pretty. So I believe this is like a 13 book series, and I have like the first 6 in the series, so I'm excited to get through these. But this series is basically about our main character Futaba and Ku, and so they meet in middle school, and they kind of have like crushes on each other. At least Futaba does. She's kind of had a crush on him all throughout middle school, and so by the time they actually like really speak to each other and they decide to meet up to kind of go like on this date, but then it doesn't end up happening, and Ku ends up moving away without her knowledge, and she moves on to high school, and her heart is broken because she has all of these deep feelings for Ku, and they kind of never go away. She kind of goes on throughout high school still thinking about him and reminiscing about him, but trying to move on with her life. And while she's in high school, this new guy shows up, and he reminds her of Ku. He looks just like him, talks like him, but doesn't act like him. And so needless to say, it ends up being Ku, and all of these feelings come rushing back to the surface. Even though they never really left, they were kind of just like settled way down deep in her heart, but they kind of just spring to the surface, and she's excited and she's nervous all at the same time. And Ku ends up just like not being the same person that he once was in middle school, and so she's like, what is going on? Like, he's so serious, he doesn't talk as much, and he just doesn't have like that happy-go-lucky spirit like he once used to have. And so I don't know, this manga just kind of goes through the ups and downs of being in school, like bullying popular kids versus unpopular kids, and just following their romance. So right now, like in the first 2, they are kind of starting to talk to each other more, and I think they kind of know that they do like each other, but it's not being said that they like each other. They're hanging out a lot more, they're talking to each other a lot more, there are some flirting aspects, and it's just a good time, and it just makes me feel so good inside, just like reading their romance, just reading about their interactions together. It's just so cute. And I found out that this is also a anime and a live action movie as well, so I cannot wait to dive into these once I read them. I'm definitely going to go and watch those. But yeah, this is just a fun time. If you like manga and you like romance, and more specifically high school romance, you're gonna love these books. I really don't have much more to say other than that, because that's pretty much all that's happened in the first 2 books, and it's really not a spoiler because that's what's on the back of the blurbs. But yeah, it was a fun time, and I can't wait to read the rest of the series. I think I'm going to be picking up the 3rd and the 4th book for my spring reads, so I'm really excited about that. I don't want this manga to end. Like, obviously I sit here and I read an entire manga in one sitting because it's super easy to read and super easy to get through, but it's like one of those like bittersweet things where it's like I don't want it to end, but I also want to hurry up and read the next one, if you know what I mean. But it's just a really fun time, and the fact that there is an anime to go along with this and a live action movie, I'm excited to watch those and see how it differs from the mangas. So yeah, I read 2 mangas as well over my winter reads. I am loving those books so much. Okay, I had to have a small intermission because my daughter was ready for a nap. So she is currently laying down right here on my bed having a nap. So I've already had my coffee, and so now I've got some water to keep me hydrated throughout the rest of this video. So this is your time to go and fill you up a nice glass of ice water and come back and sit down and get through the rest of this video with me. Okay, so the next book that I picked up is like a historical fiction book, and that is The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. And this is based on a true story. And you guys, this book has been a book that I have been wanting to pick up and read for some time. And if you missed out on my book haul that I recently uploaded, I will link it down below. I actually have uploaded quite a few book hauls recently. So I have like an ultimate book haul where there was like 40 plus books in that book haul. And I'm pretty sure that is like the biggest book haul I've done on my channel. So I uploaded that one. I did another book haul that I just found in my footage that I completely forgot that I filmed. I did like around Christmas time, but there aren't any Christmas books in that video. And then I recently just did another huge book haul because yeah, I need to get in here and fill up this dream home library. So that is what I'm doing. You're going to be seeing loads more book hauls from me. So if you're interested in stuff like that and you need book recommendations in your life, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out when I post a video, you guys. But I recently just hauled this book in a mystery book box that I opened with you guys in that book haul, and it was from Second Chapter Grade that I recently had just subscribed to, and this was one of the books that came in that mystery box, and I was so excited because, like I said, I've been wanting to read this book for a really long time, and so of course I had to pick it up for my winter reads. And you guys, this book did not disappoint. I mean, yes, it was heartbreaking and heart-wrenching and very sad, but it was also just like inspirational to just keep going. Our main character, Lale, went through so much, so freaking much, and this book goes to show that no matter what you're going through in life, keep pushing through because you can make it out on the other end. Like, you can do it. To be strong. And I'll tell you, Lale is strong. He is strong because he went through so much shit along with the rest of the Jews and gypsies, and they literally captured so many other people. Like, this book has taught me so much. Like, I've learned about the Holocaust and like the Nazis and Jews and everything that happened during that time period. But it was kind of just like a brief overview of what happened, and then we would just move on to something else when I was in high school. So this book, throughout this book, I learned so much that I didn't know before. And so in this book, we follow Lale. And Lale is a Jew who has been told that one member from every household has to go on this train, and they don't really know where they're going. And so he ends up at the encampment of Auschwitz. Lale is a great guy. He is very well respected. He grew up well. He's not rich by any means, but he does have money. He dresses very nicely. He knows lots of many different languages. And so because of that, that really helps him out at his time here in Auschwitz. And he kind of keeps a low profile. He tries to help out everybody he can. And he's such a doll. He is literally such a doll. It's like he doesn't care if he gets in trouble or if he gets killed because of his actions for trying to help those around him. He does it out of the kindness of his heart. And while he's in Auschwitz, he ends up falling in love with this girl named Gita, and he ends up climbing himself up the ranks trying to survive here in Auschwitz. And to do that, he ends up becoming the tattooist of Auschwitz. So he ends up tattooing all of the numbers onto the Jews and just incoming people that are coming into these camps. And although it was really hard for him to have to tattoo these people against their will, he did it because it helped save him to be able to stay alive in this camp. And like I said, he ends up tattooing this girl named Gita, and to him, she's the most beautiful woman that he's ever seen. And even though her head is shaved, he thinks she is the most beautiful girl that he's ever seen. And that speaks volumes, you guys. Like, their love story is just so beautiful. Like, this book is actually the book that I ended up listening to on audiobook. And like I said, I don't do audiobooks. This was the first book that I ever listened to on an audiobook. And you guys, I think audiobooks are just going to be a thing that I do now. So like I said, I work from home. And I do computer work from home. I do like data entry. Normally, like, I'll listen to a podcast or I'll listen to music. I really don't like to watch shows or TV while I'm doing it because I'm one of those people who has to like not miss anything when I'm watching something. So that doesn't really work for me. And I don't listen to music that often, so that doesn't really work either. And I'm not a really big fan of podcasts. I really haven't found a podcast that I just really, really love. And so I decided to listen to this on audiobook. And the narrator who read this book, chef's kiss, did such an amazing job at capturing all of the emotions throughout this entire freaking book. He changed up his voice, changed up his expression for each character, which I love. Which, fun fact, if you didn't know, I do read out loud to myself. I cannot for the life of me sit here and silently read in my head. That just doesn't work for me. So I'm always reading out loud, and I like to voice my characters and give them different voices. It's just so much fun. And I don't like read super out loud. I kind of like whisper read when I'm reading. But the fact that he used different voices for the characters, I loved that so much. He gave so much expression into this book and so much emotion when he was speaking. Like, when the characters were nervous, you can tell. His voice was shaking as he was speaking. And I just love that he put so much thought and dedication and emotion into the characters, and that really spoke out to me. I don't remember his name. Let me look him up just in case you would like to listen to this book on audiobook. This was read by Richard Armitage. So if you are looking to read this book, maybe you don't want to read it for yourself and you're audiobook girly, I highly recommend listening to this on audiobook because he did such an exceptional job. Like, he did so well that I want to see if he has other books. This is a series. They're all standalones you could read alone, but I am going to be picking up the second book for my spring reads. But anywho, you guys, this book was just, it was so good. It was captivating. It was heart-wrenching. It was sad. It was inspirational. It was so many things to me. And I feel like this book is always going to hold such a special place in my heart. And this book was one of those books where I just wanted to keep listening. I wanted to keep turning the pages. But there was also times where it was just too much to where I had to just put the book down and walk away for a minute because it's sad. It is sad. I mean, like I said, this is based on a true story. We all have heard the story of what the Nazis did to the Jews, and in a time and place where that is starting to pop up again, I'm not going to go into detail on that. This book really just helps capture what that time period was like for these people and all of the things that they had to endure and go through, and some of it was really hard to get through. I mean, like, throwing them into the gas chambers and just hearing about all of the bodies that they would just pile on top of each other was really hard to listen to, but it was just something that I just needed to get through. And I feel really proud of myself for getting through this book, and I definitely feel like Richard helped me get through it. That is for sure. Like, I don't know if I would have been able to get through this book as fast as I did if I was reading it on my own. So I really, really enjoyed the audiobook, and I do plan on listening to the second book in the series on audiobook, because the second book follows another character in this book, which is Silka, and so I'm really excited to like listen to her story and like where she is now and things like that. And so I really love this. I also love the back of the book kind of goes into the author and how she visited the hometown of Lale and got to talk to all of these different people that knew Lale, and just talking to people in his hometown and schools and churches and things like that. And it was so much fun. Like, we got different pictures and inserts of her talking to all of these different people and her inspiration for writing this story. Like, she actually got to talk with Lale himself because he made it out of Auschwitz, and I was so happy that he did. Like, I knew he had to have, because obviously there's a story written about him and Gita and their love story, so he obviously was alive to be able to tell this story. But I just kept thinking, please, please, please let them get out of here. Let them get out of here and let them live to see another day. And I was just so happy that they were able to get away from such a horrendous place and to be able to tell their story. And I just love that. And we also get like pictures and stuff like that of like Lale and Gita. Let me see if I can find a picture here of them because it's just so sweet. And like at the end, the author like gets to talk to like, here's them at an old age, and then let me find pictures of them and their son that they had together after escaping Auschwitz. And so the son gets to talk to the author and just tell the author about his time growing up with Lale and Gita, and it's just a magical story and just such an inspiring story, because Lale and Gita went through so much being in Auschwitz and being forced to stay in Auschwitz, and the fact that they were able to get out and make a life for themselves and had a son, like, I love that for them so much. So much. Like, I'm literally getting the chills as I'm talking about this book. Like, I gave this book 5 stars. It was so good, and it was such a good read. I can't wait to read the second one. I think there's 3 books in the series. I don't know what the 3rd book is about, but like I said, the 2nd book is about Silke, which is another character who was also in Auschwitz as well. She was one of Gita's friends in the women's camp. And so I'm really excited to hear about her story and how she escaped and where she is now. And yeah, you guys, I don't want to say much more about this book because I don't want to give too much away. But I highly recommend reading this book. Even though it's historical fiction, it's based on a true story, and it gives you a lot of insight into things that you probably don't know. Like, a lot of the stuff, like, I didn't know, like, they went through. Like, there's an evil doctor in here who just did evil experiments and stuff on them, which is just mind-blowing and crazy. And it's just crazy to me, the fact that this went on for so long and nobody stopped it is just mind-blowing to me. And the fact that we have survivors from this is amazing. Like, I've watched so many documentaries since reading this book on survivors of the Holocaust. I've watched documentaries on Nazi soldiers that actually who sit down and talk with some of the Holocaust survivors. And the fact that they have so much respect for each other and are able to actually hold a conversation civilly and just talk to each other about their time, how they grew up, and just what they went through, it's really, really inspiring and just really motivational and also heart-wrenching to like watch. But I don't know, like, this time holds such a special place in my heart because I just feel for all of these people that went through all of these horrendous things. And I don't know, it's just one of those books that you just need to pick up and read about. So I highly recommend picking up this one. So that is my only historical fiction book that I did pick up for my winter reads. Water break. Okay, moving on to my fantasy books that I was able to pick up. No. Sorry, wrong one. First one here is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. And you guys, I don't really have to say much about this book. If you know, you know. I have never read Harry Potter. Growing up, I never read it. I was always very intimidated by the Harry Potter series. I've said this time and time again, but in my childlike brain, I always thought that every single book in the Harry Potter series was this huge, gigantic book. Now, don't get me wrong. I think like the last 4 books in the series are freaking huge, but the first 3 are just like your average book. So I picked up Harry Potter for the first time for my fall reads. If you want to check out my fall reads, everything that I picked out for the fall season, I'll link it down below. But I read Harry Potter for the first time over the fall for 2024, and I fell in love with it. And I was like, why didn't I pick this book up sooner? It's just a magical ride, you guys. I'm not going to go into what this book is about because everyone knows what Harry Potter is about. We all grew up in Harry Potter as a child. I definitely did. I watched all of the movies growing up. I had a major crush on Harry Potter growing up, but I never read the books, and it didn't disappoint. It didn't disappoint. I got through this book so freaking fast, like so fast. It was so good. And yeah, this is the 2nd book in the series. I do plan on picking up the 3rd book in the series for my spring reads. I don't really have much to say about this because Harry Potter is such a magical trip. Like, I literally feel like a portal pops up when I'm reading this book, and I travel through that portal into this world, and I just feel like I'm floating in the air and following along with these characters throughout the entire story. Like, that's literally how I feel reading this book. I feel so transported into their magical world, and I love it. I love it so much. Like, I hate coming back to reality after reading this book. I mean, I love my life. I love my little life. I have an amazing little life here with my husband and my kids, but this is just like a fun escape, and I absolutely love this book with all my heart. I can't wait to get through the entire series. I highly recommend it. It is a middle grade read, but I feel like if you have never read the Harry Potter series, read it. Read it. I'm about to be 30, you guys, and I'm barely reading the Harry Potter series for the first time. There's never a wrong time to pick up this book. Like, there really isn't. So, 5 stars for this one as well. It was so good. And I did watch the first Harry Potter movie again. I've watched all the movies, but I'm going to go back and watch all of the movies as I read the book. So I did watch the first one. I've yet to watch the second one, so I need to watch that one because I already read the second book. So I'm excited. I'm excited to move on to the third book for my spring reads. So that is one of the fantasy books that I was able to get through. And then the second fantasy book that I was able to get through was A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch by Sarah Hawley. And you guys, this book did not disappoint. I read the first book in the series for my fall reads and I absolutely loved it. I fell in love with it. And so this is the second book in the series. I'm going to be picking up the third book in the series for my spring reads, which I'm super excited for because the third book follows a werewolf and a vampire love story. And if you know, you know. Vampires is my favorite all-time fantasy genre to read about. So I'm super excited about this one. This series all can be read as standalones because each book follows a different character's love story from the first book. But this one was so good. Like, I was actually kind of worried going into this book that this book wasn't going to be as good. Whatever reason, that's just kind of what I felt. But you guys, this was so good. Like, I don't know. It was up there with the first book. Like, I can't even tell you if the first or the second book was better because they're both up there neck and neck. They are just so good. And so this book, we follow Caldia and Astaroth. And Astaroth is a demon, Caldia is a witch, and their love story, you guys, is like an enemies to lovers love story. And they also kind of are hiding their like love for each other from their friends and everything like that. So throughout this book, I don't want to give too much away because you kind of need to read the first book to know like what's going on throughout this book. And I don't know if I should say it because I don't want to spoil it for you, for those of you who want to read this book. But basically we're following Caldia and Astaroth on their journey. Astaroth's memory has been wiped clean. He kind of has amnesia. He used to be like this really bad demon, just an evil demon, had no remorse for anything he said or did. And now he has amnesia and doesn't remember anything. And so she's kind of like following him on this journey of trying to get his memories back. He's also running from this other evil demon who's trying to kill him. He has no idea why this demon wants to kill him. And so she's like helping him out on this journey. And so they are enemies to lovers because he is in the first book and he was like an evil demon who tried to kill her best friend. And so in this book, she is like helping him. And they're kind of hiding that from her friends because if her friends found out she's helping the demon who tried to kill her best friend, they're going to be like, what the F, girl? What are you doing? So she's kind of keeping it on the down low. And so they're both kind of on the run from this evil demon since she's helping Astaroth to get away from this evil demon, trying to help him to gain his memories back so he can figure out what is going on in his life. And needless to say, they hate each other, but they start falling for each other. And it was such a good time. Like, Sarah Hawley knows how to write a freaking fantasy book. Hands freaking down. She's got the fantasy trope down to a T. I absolutely love the banter between these characters. Her writing is just so funny. She knows how to make a girl laugh. Like, she really, really does. Like, for me, whenever I'm feeling down or I'm frustrated or I'm stressed, I always pick up a book and it always just helps me to get out of that funk. And Sarah Hawley did not disappoint with making me laugh and putting a smile on my face while I was reading this book. It was so good. I got through this book so fast, and Sarah Hawley did such an amazing job with both of the books that I've read so far in this series, and so I can't wait to jump into the third one. These books are spicy, so just a fair warning, I'd give this about 3 chili peppers. So if you don't like spice, this probably isn't going to be the book for you. There really isn't spice until like halfway through the book, but once you get to that first spice scene, there are a few more after that. So just a warning for those of you who don't like spice in your books, this does have spice in it, but it was honestly really funny to me. Like, their spicy scenes were funny to me. Really, really funny, and I don't know, I just had a really good time with this book. Like, I really hope this series gets turned into like a TV show or a movie, because I could totally see that happening. It's so good and so visual. Like, she is so descriptive in everything that she says throughout this entire book that I can just visualize everything that is happening and everything that's being said. So needless to say, I gave this book 5 stars. It was so good, and I highly recommend picking it up. I think I like highly recommend picking up almost every single book that I read for all of my winter reads. I think there was only one book that I picked up that I did not care for. Yeah, only one book that I picked up that I didn't care for. Okay, moving on to my thriller books that I picked up, you guys. So the first book that I picked up is The Housemaid's Wedding by Frida McFadden, a short story. If you know, you know. I absolutely love the Housemaid series so much. So freaking much. I think I picked all of the Housemaid series books up for my fall reads, and I fell in love with the first 2 books in the series. The third one wasn't as good as the first 2, but it was still good. And I was just browsing on Amazon, and when I seen this, I was like, no freaking way. No freaking way there's a 4th book. So this is just a short story. So it's a really, really short story. Like, let me see how many pages it is. It's 74 pages long. So a really short book, and I was super excited to pick up this book. So this book kind of goes back in time to tell the wedding of Enzo and Millie. Millie is the main character in the Housemaid series. I'm not going to dive into what the Housemaid series is all about, but I will say go and check it out because it's a really great series. It is a thriller series, so I was really excited. So this one kind of follows those days leading up to their wedding, because this was kind of like not talked about in the books, because in like the first book, like she meets Enzo, they kind of fall in love, and so in the second book they're kind of like not talking to each other. They kind of like went their separate ways. And then in the third book, they are back together again, and now they're married, they have a family, they have kids, and they finally get to move to the suburbs and all of these things. And so we kind of missed their wedding story and like when they got married and how all of that happened. And so that's what this is. And so this book could be read in between books 2 and 3 or after book 3. I ended up reading this book after book 3 because I didn't even know about it as I was reading the series, and it wasn't until after the third book is when I found this. And so I was really excited to dive into this book, but you guys, I was very disappointed. I was very disappointed in this book. I expected so much more from this book, especially because the Housemaid series is such a popular series, and I loved that book so much. I gave it 6 stars, the first 2 books in the series, and this just, it didn't do it for me. Like, I felt like there was no need for this book at all. Like, maybe the author felt like she needed to write this book because we all wanted more from the series. But it just was a disappointment, and I read a lot of reviews on Goodreads of other people also stating that they didn't care for this book. And yeah, I just felt like this book just didn't need to be written, or at least it could have been written better, or even made into like an actual 4th book instead of a short story, because I just felt like this book was just like rushed into. It was just like quickly wrote out just to make a 4th book, just to please everybody, to have another book in the series. Like, I don't know, it wasn't good. It wasn't a hit. And this book kind of follows Millie and Enzo like leading up to their wedding, and like somebody's out to get her, somebody's trying to kill her, and the whole thriller of it was just like it just wasn't there. It wasn't doing it for me. And like I said, I actually wish this book was never written because it really wasn't that good. And so I ended up giving this book 2 stars, you guys. 2 stars, which I think is like the lowest rating I've ever rated a book. So that says a lot. Like, I feel like I pick up a lot of good books, and normally my books are anywhere from the 3 to 6 star range, and I honestly feel like I read a lot of 4 and 5 star reads, but this one just didn't hit right with me. And I don't want to say too much about what happens in the story. Like I said, it just leads up to the days of their wedding and somebody trying to kill her, and it just didn't hit for me. And then when you find out who did it, it's like, what the F? Like, I don't know. I felt like it was just a lame thriller aspect, and I just felt like, yeah, it just didn't need to be written. And I feel so sorry saying that because Frida McFadden has become one of my favorite thriller authors to read. I'm currently reading another one of her books right now for my spring reads, which is amazing. So stay tuned for my spring reads. I'm going to be posting that one very, very soon. But yeah, I just did not care for this one, and this one I gave 2 stars too. Okay, so the next thriller book that I picked up is Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen M. McManus. And if you know, you know, Karen M. McManus is another one of my all-time favorite thriller authors. She is a YA thriller author and does a lot of like high school thrillers, which I absolutely love. In this book, we follow Ellery, which is the main character, and her brother, who have to go back and live with their grandma in Echo Ridge. And Echo Ridge is notoriously known for the killings of homecoming queens at the high school. And so her mother's sister was actually killed. Her mother is kind of just like on drugs and out of rehab, really isn't the most stable parent. So they have to go and live with their grandma. And while they're living with their grandma in Echo Ridge, there is another killing that takes place. And so Ellery kind of finds herself in the midst of that killing. She ends up becoming homecoming queen. And so Malcolm, who also lives in Echo Ridge, kind of like becomes friends with Ellery, and his brother is notoriously known for being her mother's sister's murderer. But he was never charged on anything, never got arrested for it. There wasn't enough evidence to suggest that he actually did it. So Ellery is kind of like trying to fit all of the pieces together because her mom has always been very like to herself, doesn't really give a lot of information away about her childhood or how she grew up or how her sister died. And so while she's in Echo Ridge, she's kind of being her own detective in a way and trying to figure out what happened to her mother's sister and find out more about her mom and her aunt and just the type of people that they were, who they hung around. And yeah, throughout this book, she's kind of like a detective in her way and fitting pieces together. And it was such a good time. I got through this book within a week. It was so stinking good. Gave this book 5 stars. I love anything that Karen M. McManus writes, and Karen M. McManus wrote the One of Us is Lying series, which is such a good series. It's also a Peacock original show if you want to go and check it out, which was also a really good show. They did change a lot of things in the show, but it was still really, really good. And yeah, this book didn't disappoint. It was so good. It had me turning pages. I love Karen M. McManus because she does write from different person point of views, which I absolutely love that with all my heart. And yeah, it was a good time, and I highly suggest reading it if you are into like YA thrillers. And yeah, I don't want to say too much more because I feel like I'll give way too much away, but that's what this is about, and that was my thoughts, and I gave it 5 stars. Oh, I feel like I am like talking so freaking much, so water break. Okay, you guys. Those were all of the books that I picked up for my winter reads. I also picked up another book for my winter reads, but this book I actually didn't end up getting to, and that is Sleigh Bells and Slaughter by Alina Jacobs. I had every intention of reading this for my Christmas reads during December, but I ended up picking up other books because I read How My Neighbor Stole Christmas, and then I read The Christmas Murder Game, and then I was kind of over the Christmassy stuff and I wanted to dive into something else, and I think that's when I picked up Harry Potter and the Tattooist of Auschwitz. And so by the time I got through those books, Christmas had already came and gone, and I wasn't in the mood for a Christmas book anymore, so I just didn't end up picking up this book, and I ended up picking up a different book instead. So yeah, this was the only book that I didn't end up picking up, and honestly I could have read it, but I just wasn't in the Christmas mood anymore, so maybe I will pick it up for my 2025 Christmas reads. So yeah, that was the only book that I wasn't able to get through. And then I have 3 other books here that I was able to get through over my winter reads that I actually ended up tacking on to my winter reads. These were not part of the books that I picked out for my winter reads, but they just ended up making it on to my TBR. So the first book is on a piece of paper because this was actually an ebook that I read, and this is Sultry is the Night by Barbara Avon, and Barbara is so sweet. So Barbara is an author who ended up emailing me and sending me her book for free as an ebook to read and review for her, and I was just so excited when I opened that email. Like, the fact that Barbara took the time to watch my videos, little old me here in this small little corner of YouTube, the fact that she took the time to watch my videos and reach out to me through email and send me her book for free was just the sweetest thing ever. I thanked her so much for sending me her book, and if you know, you know. I am not a digital ebook girly at all. I've said that time and time again. I am a physical book girly through and through. Because I'm a book collector, I collect loads of books and I just love physical media more than I love ebooks. I was a little on the fence about reading it because I've never read an ebook, but I know that I don't like it. So, but you guys, it was actually a good time. Like when me and my family were out and about and I had appointments, I would just like pull up the book on my phone and read it. When I was doing computer work at home, I'd pull it up on my laptop and read it when I just kind of wanted to take a break from my work. So it was actually a good time and I really didn't dislike it as much as I thought I was going to dislike it. I still do prefer a physical book over a digital book, but it was still a good time and I honestly didn't mind it. And the book was a really short book. Let me see. It was a really short book, so I got through it relatively very, very quickly. Let me go check how many pages. I want to say it's like 100 and something pages. Yeah, so this book is like 156 pages, so it is a very short story. But anywho, Barbara was so kind to send me her book to read and review for you guys. So that is exactly what I did. I put the book, I don't even remember what I was reading at the time. I want to say I was reading Harry Potter at the time and I stopped everything I was doing to read this book, and I ended up giving this book 3 stars. It was a pretty good read. So this book follows Mario and Tess, and so this book is kind of like a realistic fiction, like romance story with like a little bit of suspense added into it. And so in this book we follow Mario and Tess, and we just have 2 different worlds in this story. Mario is from like a poorer neighborhood. He is subjected to like prostitutes and drugs and homeless people and just run down neighborhoods and houses and things like that. And then on the other side of the tracks we have Tess, who has grown up with money. She lives in a high-rise apartment complex and she just has everything going for her. And so this book really follows a lot of real life situations, which I honestly really loved reading about. So Mario's mom has died and he's kind of going through this grief period of losing his mom and trying to get himself standing on his own 2 feet, trying to find a job so he can survive and provide for himself. And then we have Tess, who has all this money and is able to provide for herself without any question. We also have like a strange family situation because Mario's dad like doesn't talk to him. He kind of tries to reach out to him to get a job through him, which his dad doesn't give him. And so he's kind of just like off on his own trying to find a job. And the 2 of them run into each other and it's kind of like an instant love story. They instantly kind of fall in love with each other. We kind of just follow their journey of their interactions and them slowly falling for each other. Although it was also kind of instant love because I felt like they've known each other forever, and like that's why they like instantly kind of fell in love with each other. So they instantly kind of just like start dating and going out on all of these dates. Towards the end of the story, Tess kind of has a secret and some stuff happens to where you just don't know if Mario and Tess's relationship is gonna make it. And I was kind of like on edge, like we went through all of this throughout the story, like they can't just like end it here. And I almost felt like they weren't gonna get back together. Like I almost felt like the story wasn't gonna be a happily ever after, but it is. But Tess's secret is not what I thought it was. Not what I thought it was at all. I would never have guessed this in a million freaking years. And so it was definitely a very surprising twist to the story, which I absolutely loved. And I really enjoyed this story. I ended up giving this book 3 stars simply because I just wanted more from the characters. I really wanted more from the characters. Like, this book was a short story, and don't get me wrong, I love a short story. Short stories really help me to get out of those reading slumps, because when I'm reading a huge, thick-ass book, I really find myself getting more into a reading slump to where it's like I keep putting the book down. I don't want to pick up the book because there's 1,000+ freaking pages, and so I really, really, really do love a short story, and I did love that this book was a short story, but I just felt like I just wanted more from them. Like, I really would have loved to hear more about Tess's background and Mario's background, and even though we did get a lot of that, I just wanted more from them. Like, I wanted to know exactly how Tess grew up in her household with her dad, and I wanted to know exactly how Mario grew up in his household with his dad and his mom, and kind of what his mom and dad went through and what he went through as a child. And like I said, we do get that inserted into the book. We do get to know more about Mario and Tess's background, but I just feel like I wanted more. I wanted more from the characters. I didn't want it to be over. And so maybe I jumped the gun on giving it a 3-star rating because I did end up finding out that there is a second book in this series. So I don't know what the second book is about, but if it's about Tess and Mario, I'm going to be so excited because I definitely just want more from these characters. And it was a good time. I really enjoyed it. And you just follow so many different realistic stuff that can really happen in real life. You get grief from a loved one dying and having to overcome that grief and what the characters do to overcome that grief. You have a relationship that's kind of thrown into the mix of him also grieving his mother's death on top of falling in love with this woman that he doesn't really know much about. You follow Tess, who is happy but also sad, and Mario senses that, and so he's trying to pull out of her what she's so sad about, but she's very private and very to herself, and she kind of just puts on this smile and tries to just be happy in front of him. And so he's trying to give her the world and do everything that he can to make her happy, but at the same time trying to figure out why she's so sad. And that is so true realistically, because you never know what somebody is going through. Like, they can literally be putting on a smile every single day and laughing with you every single day, and you would never know that they're hurting inside, or that they're going through something very heartbreaking or heart-wrenching or grieving or whatever it may be. And so it's really insightful on being nice to people and being kind to people, because you just never know what someone else is going through. And we also kind of see like this lashing out at people because they're angry, because they're going through their own trials and tribulations that nobody else knows about. And it's the reason for why they're lashing out at other people, because they just want other people to hurt, or they're throwing out their hurt onto other people because they're hurting inside. And so a lot of the stuff that happened in this book I can relate to, or I can relate to in society. Like, I see it in society, I hear it in society, and so I just feel like it's a really good book on being able to overcome your trials and tribulations, and knowing that no matter what you're going through, you can overcome that. And so I really love that about that book. And so yeah, I was able to read Sultry is the Night, which was not on my winter reads, but Barbara was so kind to send me this book. So thank you so much, Barbara, so much for sending me your book. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed reading this book, and I definitely will be picking up the second one to read as well, because I just need more. I need more from these characters. So I was able to read that one, which, like I said, is kind of like a realistic fiction, romance, a little bit of suspense thrown in there. And then the second book that I also threw in, which was not in my winter reads, is The Other Woman by Sandy Jones. And this is a Reese's Book Club pick, and this was a really great thriller. Me and my sister ended up picking up this book together because I ordered this book twice because I'm retarded. I literally bought this book twice. I bought it the second time not knowing that I already owned it, because it was in one of my boxes of books that I hadn't did a haul on. And once I kind of started going through my book boxes and doing hauls on them, I found out that I ordered this book twice. So I ended up giving that one to my sister, and we did a book club reading with, which is so much fun. I absolutely love when we sit down and do book reads together. If you guys would be interested in watching a video of me and my sister doing a book club reading together, let me know. Give this video a like, comment down below. I feel like that would be such a fun video because we're so chaotic when we're like reading the book together. We're laughing hysterically. We're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? We're like talking so much throughout the entire book, and I feel like we have a lot of funny moments, and it's just a good time. And I feel like capturing that on camera and being able to look back on those memories of me and my sister bonding would be so much fun. So let me know if that's something you would be interested in doing. Maybe we can do one in the future for our next book club pick. But this is like the third book club that we've done together, and it's so much fun. I feel like we should do it every single month. I just feel like that'd be so much fun. So yeah, this was our book club pick that we just on a whim decided to do. My sister comes and spends the night for like a week at a time, and it's always so much fun when she's here. And so we ended up picking out this book to read together, and this is a thriller book. And in this book, we follow Adam and Emily. Emily is our main character. Emily has fallen in love with Adam. You know, they're engaged to be married, and, you know, they're planning their wedding date, and everything is just perfect. Emily thinks Adam is the perfect man until he isn't. He starts just like, you know, being really rude with her, starts yelling at her, which he never used to do before, starts kind of being controlling with her, and then the mother-in-law is thrown into the loop, and the mother-in-law is crazy. She does all of these things that her son doesn't see, and Emily just starts kind of wondering, is she going to be able to get through this relationship with her mother-in-law being so adamant about trying to get rid of Emily? She's trying to throw Emily out of the picture. She doesn't want them to get married, but she doesn't outright say so. She kind of makes Emily look stupid. She does things to piss Emily off, but then doesn't own up to it when Emily talks to Adam about it. So, like, such as, like, she wanted Emily to come down for the holidays to do Thanksgiving with them, but Emily was going to have Thanksgiving with her family, and she was like, yeah, you know, like, I can come down afterwards, but don't worry about eating with me. Like, I'm going to be eating with my family. I'll be full by the time I get there. And so the mom's like, yeah, like, no problem. You know, you can come and just, like, hang out with us for the holidays. And then she gets there, and the mom and her fiance are pissed at her because she was late showing up, and she already ate at her parents' house when his mom made this full-on spread, and they were waiting for her. The food's getting cold, and then she hardly touches her food when the mom has been in the kitchen busting her ass, making all of this food. And Emily's like, what the heck? Like, you literally said, like, it's okay, like, it's okay, go ahead, eat at your family. She knew she was going to be late showing up. She knew that she wasn't going to be eating the food like that. And she literally twisted the story right in front of her fiance. She tries to talk to her fiance about it, but her fiance just shuts her down every time and always takes his mom's side because he's a mama's boy. And you guys, there's definitely a twist throughout this book. I don't want to say too much more about this book because anything I say is just going to give the entire book away, but it's so good. It is so good. It is so good. Like, throughout the entire story, me and my sister are just like, is the mom really this freaking evil? Is the mom really this evil? Or does she have a reason to it? Like, there's no way that the mom is the one doing all of this, because again, this is like a thriller, suspenseful book. And so throughout the entire book, we were really trying to figure out who did what, and if the mom is actually really evil or if she's trying to cover for somebody. So there's definitely a plot twist to it, and you guys are gonna love it. It's a really, really good book. We ended up kind of guessing towards the end who did what, and we were right. But we definitely had a lot of guesses leading up throughout the book where we just kept flipping characters on who it was. But it was such a fun time and such a great time, and I highly recommend. This is a Reese's Book Club pick, and yeah, I had a good time reading this. My sister had a good time reading it. We both loved it. And yeah, I highly recommend picking this book up. And the last book that I ended up throwing into my winter reads is a romance book that, chef's freaking kiss, you guys, was hands down one of the best books that I've read in a really, 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 really long time. I think I forgot to rate this book. I rated this book 5 stars. It was really, really good. But that is The Wrong Bride by Katharina Mora. Oh my gosh. And it's a special edition and has sprayed edges. We were at Walmart one day and we were just getting some things that we needed for around the house. And of course, you know, I had to go down the book aisle and I seen this book and I seen it said The Wrong Bride. I instantly thought it was a thriller book, so I picked it up to read the synopsis. And no, it is not a thriller book. It is actually a romance book. And it literally captured me. It says, she's his fiance's younger sister. He's the man she's always loved. I mean, come on. I read that and I was like, yep, you're coming home with me. And so this was not a book that I intended to read over the winter, but this book just kept calling out to me. I kept looking at it over on my bookshelf and I was just like, I need to read you. I need to read you. And so I was actually reading A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch by Sarah Hawley when this book just kept calling out to me. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna pick it up and I'm gonna start reading it. I instantly went to look it up on Amazon to see if it was a series, and lo and behold, yes, it is a 6-book freaking series. And I was like, oh no, like, I don't want to commit to a 6-book series right now. But the entire series, all of the books are standalones, so that kind of made me feel better at the fact that each book was like a different character from the first book. So I was like, yes, you know what, let's just read it. And this book gave, you guys. It freaking gave. So in this book, we follow Raven and Aries. Raven and Aries are like childhood best friends. Aries grew up in a like billionaire family. They're super, super rich, and her family is also kind of wealthy, but they do lean on the Windsor's family to like help them out financially with their business and stuff like that. And so, like I said, Raven and Aries were like childhood best friends, and then they are like arranged to marry each other. So Aries' grandmother arranges marriages for all of her grandchildren. She has 6 grandchildren. There's 5 boys and 1 girl. And so each book we're going to follow each of the siblings and their love story and their arranged marriage, which I'm so excited about. I love this book so much. I love the arranged marriage trope so much. And so they are arranged to be married, and Raven is over the moon about it because although they have been best friends forever, she also is secretly in love with him. And so she was super happy, but then the grandma ends up switching up last minute and decides to have Aries marry Raven's older sister, Hannah. So Raven is heartbroken watching her sister and her best friend / secret lover fall in love with each other and end up becoming fiancés. And so this kind of follows her journey of having to sit back in the shadows and watch them being so happy. But Aries and Raven, like, they still hang out. They still, you know, go on shopping trips. They hang out and stuff like that. But Raven is definitely jealous of the relationship. She tries not to talk to her sister or Aries as much because she's just heartbroken. She's heartbroken because she thought she was going to be able to actually marry the love of her life. But he doesn't know that. He doesn't know that Raven is in love with him. And so what ends up happening is Hannah walks away from the marriage, and the grandma puts Raven and Aries back on to be married again. And it's like years later. So Hannah and Aries have actually fallen in love with each other. They actually really do love each other. And then Hannah ends up walking away from the marriage, and because she just loves drama like that. And so Raven is now arranged to marry Aries. And her sister is telling her, no, don't do it. Like, I've postponed the wedding so many times. Like, grandma will get over it. But grandma at this point is pissed. She's over Hannah postponing the wedding so many times and is ready for Aries to get married. So she decides to pair these two back together, and she's like, I should have done that from the start. I should have never had Hannah and Aries, you know, be proclaimed to marry each other. And so Aries and Raven feel wrong because, you know, Aries was actually in love with Raven's sister. Raven feels wrong because her sister was in love with her best friend. And so she feels wrong, but she kind of has no choice because, like I said, the Windsors are helping out Raven's family financially with their business. And the reason why grandma does arrange marriages is because she obviously wants her grandchildren to marry into other wealthy families to keep their businesses afloat and to keep their lives afloat. And so the deal is they have to be arranged. They have to be married for 3 years, and they can't break it. They have to make it look believable. Otherwise, Aries is going to lose inheritance and everything he has, and so is Raven. Like, their business is going to go down under. Her family's business is going to go down under. She's not going to be able to inherit it. And so they're kind of forced to, because grandma's like, look, if you guys don't marry each other, you guys are both going to lose your inheritance, and your family's business is going to go out. So they're forced to marry each other, and they basically, in the beginning, this is kind of like a slow, well, I don't want to say slow burn love because it's definitely not a slow burn. It's definitely a spicy burn. Like, this is a spicy ass book, you guys. Like, spicy ass book. So if you don't like spice, this book is not going to be for you. I'm going to say this book is pretty up there. Like a 4 or 5 chili peppers. Like, this was pretty freaking spicy. And there is a lot of spicy scenes. A lot of spicy scenes. But it's so good. It's so freaking good. And I was so enamored and so captivated by it. I literally read this book within a week. It was that freaking good. I instantly ordered the second book in the series, which this is a special edition, and I wanted to continue buying the special editions for the sprayed edges. And that one doesn't release until April. So I did pre-order it, but I'm not going to receive that book until April. But I am so excited to dive into that book because in that book we're going to be reading about one of the brothers to Aries and his arranged marriage. So I am super excited for it. I'm so pumped. This was so good. I gave it 6 stars. It was so freaking good. And Katharina Mora is definitely one of my favorite spicy romance authors. And this book was so good that it is up there with the Twisted Love series. If you know, you know. The Twisted Love series is one of my all-time favorite series. It's right up there with Twilight. Twilight is my all-time favorite book and series. Next in line is the Twisted Love series, this is definitely third. This is definitely third. Like, this was so freaking good. And if you read the Twisted Love series by Anna Hong, you're gonna love this book, because this is giving like Twisted Love series, like, so bad, and I love it. I loved it so much. Like, I can't get enough of it. Like, I can definitely see myself rereading this book, and that's how good it was. So I highly recommend. I wish I could sit here and spoil this freaking book for you guys, because it was so good. It was so stinking good. I'm sure you can tell by how hyped I am over this book. And yeah. Anyways, it just kind of follows Aries and Raven in their fake arranged marriage. They obviously end up actually falling for each other. And it was just so cute when they finally just tell each other how they freaking feel. And of course we have Hannah, who...
Oh, poor me. I love you. I want to marry you. Like, you guys can't get married.
But of course they're not allowed to divorce each other, and she just kind of creates all of this drama for the relationship because she sees that they're starting to fall for each other. And it's good. It's juicy. It's good. Like, this book actually made me freaking mad. Like, I literally
felt myself getting mad. Like, I wanted to just freaking punch Hannah in the freaking face
for all of the shit she was putting them through. Like, I just felt like, oh my gosh, Raven and Aries are finally getting their happy ever after, and then here comes Hannah screwing it all up. So anyways, I don't know. This book was so good, you guys. Like, I highly freaking recommend. If I had to pick one book for my winter reads for you to go and pick up today, it's going to be this book. This book was my all-time favorite book that I read out of all of the books that I read over my winter reads. And I read a lot of really good books. Like, I gave a lot of good ratings to a lot of these books, but this book was just over the moon. So freaking good, you guys. And yeah, I feel like I could sit here and talk about this book all day long. But at some point, this video does need to end, you guys. And so yeah, that is all of the books that I was able to pick up over my winter reads. I had so much fun with all of these books, you guys. Every single book I loved, except for The Housemaid is Watching. That one was a flop. I really didn't care for that one. But other than that, you guys, I got through a lot of books. I got through 12 of the 13 books that I ended up picking out or adding to, and it was just a good time. I had a really good time over my winter reads. I picked out a lot of good reads, you guys. I cannot wait to get through my spring reads. So I will be sitting down today showing you guys all of the books that I'm picking out for the spring. I'm going to batch film today. So be on the lookout for my spring reads, because that's probably going to be the next video that you see, to be honest, because like I said, these videos need to go out. Winter has already came and gone, you guys. Spring is starting to show its colors out there in the world. And so yeah, I need to get those videos up for you guys. But yeah, you guys, that is the end of my winter reading wrap up. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below. I would love to know your thoughts and opinions. If you have read any of these books, what were your thoughts and opinions on these books? If you've read any of them, I would love to know. What did you rate the book? And yeah, you guys, thank you guys so much for stopping by. I love each and every one of you guys. Thank you guys so much for just being such kind-hearted souls and subscribing to my channel and sitting down and listening to me talk for hours on end. I appreciate it so much, you guys. And yeah, you guys, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.